What is good, guys? Welcome back to the channel. My name is Rory Gissing and today's video is discussing how to build a thick chest. My chest is now one of my strongest body parts, but it wasn't always that way. It was actually one of my weakest or lagging body parts, I should say. But over time, I have been able to develop it so it is now one of my strongest or most dominant body parts. There are three factors I had to reassess in order to get these results, and this is what I'll be discussing in this video. And those three factors are exercise selection, rep range selection, and training frequency. Now, this was the before and after I've been using to showcase the development in my chest thickness. Now, I am aware that there is a slight difference in the lighting, the way I'm posing, and yes, I'm much leaner in the before just because that was a lead up to the show that I turned pro in, actually. So saying that, the super subs were much greater in the before because that is what happens when you do a show prep. You do have a lot more PEDs in your system than you do in the off season. Well, I did anyway. So in my off season, I was actually taking relatively small amounts compared to what I was doing in the before. And just in case you didn't know, my off season is what I call the bulk. It's just a bit more of a professional way to call your bulk. But my point is the biggest difference between the before and after is not the PEDs. It's not just the bulk because I did a much more extreme bulk just before I did this cut. It is in fact the way I chose and did my workout setup and the training frequency. Speaking of having a thick chest, why bother getting a thick chest if you can't even show it off the way I'm doing right now? Because you have this rug coming out from under your t-shirt or your tank top, which brings us to this video's sponsor. This is the best shaver I've used to get a close shave that doesn't give me nicks or razor burn or ingrown hairs. It's the Bulba Pro by Happy Nuts. So yes, I shaved the full body with the Bulba Pro, including the fellas. Some of the best features is the wireless charging and the 120-minute battery life. The genius design of the razor head is the reason I'm not getting nicks. This can also double up as a beard trimmer as it comes with a multi-adjustable guard specifically for your beard. It is 100% waterproof and safe to use in the shower. It comes with the LED spotlight so you can see exactly what it is you're trimming, as well as a travel lock to prevent you accidentally from powering it on. Use code NUTSLIKERORY to grab yourself a discount using the link in the description. Thank you Happy Nuts for sponsoring this video. So when I mentioned my chest was my weakest body part, I didn't mean strength-wise in the gym. I actually had a pretty decent bench. So I was a huge advocate for progressive overloads, even though I still am now. Back then I was looking at it down a slightly different lens because I was just chasing PRs all the time. And back then I was obsessed with getting a massive, huge bench because I got really caught up in the whole bench press is the best exercise for your chest. And I kept hearing people say increased strength equals increased muscle growth. But because the bench press is actually a compound movement, an increased bench press doesn't necessarily mean an increased stimulus in the pecs. So back in 2019, it took one of the top bodybuilding coaches to actually break down what was going wrong and why I had an underdeveloped chest. He goes by the name of Neil Yoda Hill. You may have heard of him. And it was Neil that discovered my specific body mechanics and the years of built up bad habits that the bench press wasn't actually the best exercise to build my chest. I just wasn't that well suited to get adequate stimulation in the pecs from benching. So this is where the first factor of exercise selection comes into play. The focus was put more on fly movements over pressing movements just because of that sheer isolation you'll get in your chest. Of course, it's not 100% isolated because you still have biceps and front deltoid coming into place, but it's much more isolated than your bench press. Now, don't get me wrong, there's still a lot of pressing in every chest workout I did. It's just we did a lot more fly movements to start with, and that's not as a pre-exhaust movement. A lot of people think they do flies to pre-exhaust their muscle before they do benching. No, it's not pre-exhaust. This was progressive overload with fly movements. We're talking dumbbell flies, cable flies, what else is there? Machine flies, pec deck. So chest workouts always began with a fly movement for the first exercise, and that also had another added benefit that I found it improved my mind-muscle connection. So I felt after doing my 4 sets of flies to start with, I'm now much more primed to put more focus on my chest when I start doing my pressing or my benching movements. Because the pressing movements are compound movements, so I didn't want other muscles overtaking and taking away the stimulus from my chest. Actually, I just realized I forgot to mention something super important. Subscribe. Rep range selection is another factor, so that's where this obsession with chasing heavier and heavier benches, you know, 3 rep PRs, 1 rep maxes, all that sort of thing was just completely irrelevant for muscle growth, but was for me anyway, because the stronger I was getting, I wasn't actually getting a bigger chest. But yes, I do fully believe you can do a 5 to 6 rep set of pressing and still get really good stimulus and build a good chest from that. I did not have the genetics to do so, so I had to focus on what was working for me. But even saying that, if you're the sort of person that does respond well to the lower rep ranges, I still think you'll have a massive benefit for having 1 day of lower rep ranges and then another chest workout of higher rep ranges and get stronger and progress both sets of rep ranges. So for me, I had a week of the 8 to 10 rep ranges where all the flies, all the pressing, and I would actually end up doing 16 set workouts for one chest day and 12 set workouts for the second chest day. And the second week would be doing sort of 16 to 20 reps. And that's what I meant by those 2 different rep ranges, and we progressed both of them. And that's when I saw the greatest results, getting strong and progressing across all the rep ranges. Now I touched on training frequency there, which of course is the third factor. If you missed it, I said I had a 16 set chest workout, and then my second chest workout was a 12 set chest workout. Couldn't quite fit it into a 7-day split, so it actually went into an 8-day split just to really maximize the rest days and make sure I'm fully recovered before I repeat a second chest workout. So the third factor, training frequency, I was training chest every 4 days. Now there's a lot of talk about wasted sets or garbage sets. I found doing this, what's that, 16 and 12, 28 set weeks or over 8 days. I didn't feel that that took away anything from progression. In fact, it actually improved it for me. Now, don't forget, I am an IFBB pro. I was enhanced. I was on a big bulk. It was working. I was recovering. And as you saw, the results were kind of night and day. I've done low volume and then high volume and then back to low volume. And guess what? The high volume was still the best results I've ever done. So for my genetics, I need to stick to that high volume. So the junk sets weren't a factor for me. I needed those sets. So for the people that are adamant that low volume training is the best version of training and everything sort of over 12 sets is just junk sets, then all I can say is good for you. I'm happy that you can go into a gym and do 8 sets and get really good results from that. My genetics would not let me do that. Like I said, I tried low volume multiple times and it just does not get me anywhere close to the results that I was doing when I was doing high volume workouts. Now, I'm not saying you should do high volume workouts because it's genetic specific. It's what works best for you. And unfortunately, there is no way of knowing what's going to work best for you until you try a little bit of everything and then you'll see which one's working best. This was just a video about my experience and how I built my thick chest, and it may be the same reason that your chest is not being developed if you made the same mistakes as I did. That's what I wanted this video to be about. If you found this video helpful, please go ahead and subscribe and smash that like button. If you had any comments about anything I covered in this video, please drop them below and I'll get them answered. Or if you wanted me to talk more specifically about, say, my workout splits that I mentioned in the video, then I can go ahead and make a video about that. Let me know in the comments, but thank you guys for watching. I'll catch everyone in the next video.